and welcome Your Excellencies, Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, our special guests. Welcome to the Day of the African Child. It is June the 16th, and every year we celebrate the Day of the African Child. And this year is no different. It is 30 years after the adoption of the Charter for the Agenda 2040 and Africa Fit for Children and Youth. And so as YOUTHGETHER Global, we are truly honored to have you here with us and to commemorate this day, to celebrate the amazing work that we are all doing around the world. And we also come together with many across the globe as we celebrate the Day of the African Child. And today I am blessed to have the country coordinator from YOUTHGETHER Global South Africa, Thembisile Mahuwa, who is going to be taking amazing notes and takeaways for us today. And so welcome, and let's get started. I'd like to acknowledge the Governing Council for YOUTHGETHER Global, who are here with us today, and you will get to hear from them. Would like to especially acknowledge the chair of the Governing Council, His Highness Prince Dr. Osita Aniemeke, and like to acknowledge our awesome leader, ferocious leader, fierce, the amazing Dr. Ada Okika. So welcome. And I would like to welcome right now Ms. Amaka Agulue, the Deputy Director here at YOUTHGETHER Global, to give us the welcome and the opening remarks. Welcome, Ms. Amaka.
Thank you so much, Diana, for that wonderful introduction. I would first like to say thank you, everyone, for coming to this event, this Day of the African Child. Your presence here really shows how you are committed, as we all are, to making Africa, making our children in Africa a better place. So before we get started, I just want to go ahead and reiterate what Dr. Diana said about why we are here today. Today, we are here to continue what we started about 30 years ago, the adoption of the 2040 agenda for making an Africa fit for children and youth. So today we continue that messaging. You'll see and hear from all the people who have their own, You'll hear from all the people who have their own messages to give around this initiative. So open your ears, open your mind, open your heart. And as you listen, continue to fuel that fire within all of us that helps us move forward. Thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you for that, Ms. Amaka. And we're going to welcome the chair of the Governing Council for YOUTHGETHER Global, His Highness Prince Dr. Osita Aniemeka. And we welcome you to present to us the mission of YOUTHGETHER Global to the African Union Charter. Welcome.
Thank you very much, my esteemed director, Your Excellency, Ambassador Dr. Diane Kenoly. I want to very quickly say welcome to everybody here. My Lady of Africa, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, we are so happy you're here. Thank you so very much. My Chancellor, Dr. Ada Okika, we have been through this program for the umpteenth time, and we're glad we are showcasing them now. Your Excellency, Ambassador Dr. Denis Antoine, my hero for YOUTHGETHER Global, I always tell them what you've done for us and what you keep doing for us. Thank you for being here, and God bless you. My friend Chief Ben Etiaba, I welcome you very gladly. I wasn't sure you were going to be able to make it today, but thank you so much for coming, sir. Thank you. I want to very quickly say that YOUTHGETHER Global is for the young people of the world. This focus on Africa is just one of the things that YOUTHGETHER Global does. And for our mission to the AU, this is my story. In 2016, while I was the CBN Program Director for the Entrepreneurship Center in the Southeast, located in Umuahia in Abia State, my first class was in April 2016. And while in class, a young boy called Denis sat there without any sign that he was there. He just sat there for the 3 months of class. We ran a quartermaster program in Umuahia then. After graduation, 2 months after graduation, he sent my PA to say to me that I should come and see what he has done. I said, no, it never happens. It never happens because nobody graduates from an entrepreneurship program and starts a program in 2 months. So I delayed going to see Denis because I knew that he was either kidding or he just wanted me to come to see him. But by the time I went to see him in October, I was shocked. Denis had started a bakery. Denis had hired 5 people. Denis had bought his own car. Denis had his own distributorship and everything else. So I said to him, how did you do this? He said, sir, this is a very long story, but I cut it short for you. And that's what I'm going to tell you. Denis started his bakery, borrowed money from his brother, who was a Reverend Father. And then when the bakery hit the road, he was so disappointed that nobody bought his bread. Nobody bought a single loaf of what he made. In 4 weeks, Denis ran at a huge loss. So one day he woke up and said to himself, I'd rather pack up this business and just go home and tell myself that I'm disappointed, I have done it wrongly. But he remembered something he learned in class, we called MPS. It's called Market Penetration Strategy. So instead of going back to bed, Denis woke up and went to the market, started looking for bread. He saw this very large loaf of bread called jumbo-sized bread. I mean, maybe the largest loaf of bread ever. And he said, how much is this bread? In our currency, it's 500 naira. And he said, give me one of them. So he picked up a loaf of bread, went home, he shared the bread, ate it, and it was just exactly the kind of bread he made. So he was asking himself, why would somebody pay 500 naira for bread while I was selling mine for less than 100? So it occurred to him that he could also produce jumbo bread, but sold sell for a lot less. So he produced his own jumbo bread and sold for 350 naira. So he had 150 naira in Nigerian currency, less money on the shelf. So people came there, bought the bread, and then one woman came on a Saturday, bought this big loaf of bread and went home, shared with his family, and family said, this is good bread. So he checked out the sleeve and saw that there was a telephone number on the sleeve, and that telephone number went straight to the baker of the bread. So the woman called Denis and said, did you make this bread? Then he said, yes, I did. And the woman said, can you come and see me on Monday? Then he said, of course I'll come and see you on Monday. So she got there and found that this lady was the director of the state NYSC program in Abia State. And the woman said, can you make bread for NYSC member? NYSC is National Youth Service Corps. Kids who leave school go there for 1 whole year and they just stay paid by government to serve the nation. And their numbers are in drones. So then he started making bread for the NYSC people. So when His Excellency, the governor of Abia State, Dr. Ikpeazu, came to see me, I said to him, Your Excellency, I want to introduce one of your sons to you. So when Denis came to see the governor prayed for him and said, you are going to be a great man tomorrow. When the governor got back to his office, he sent for Denis. Denis went to see His Excellency. You know what the Excellency asked Denis? You make so much good bread for National Youth Service. Can you make bread for all the widows in Abia State, in all the local government areas? And then he said, that's what I do. I make bread. So the prayer the governor made for David was what he achieved for David, because in 2 months, David became a millionaire, making bread for all the widows in 25 local government areas of Abia State. But that's not the story. The story is that when the governor dissolved his cabinet that year, Denis was his first appointee as special advisor to the governor on agriculture. This is our mission to the AU. We want to create an opportunity to give our youth the chance to raise their head and become proud. African youth are so disgruntled because everywhere you find them, they are at war with leaders, they are at war with government. Government has, in the last 50 years, discarded programs for youth in Africa. You go to Uganda, you go to Rwanda, everything is lip service. So we're saying to the AU, YOUTHGETHER Global is here. We are set up to help the youth of the world. We are in Africa. Today is the day of the African youth. Today is the day of the African child. We want to use this opportunity to offer our services to the African Union to say that we bring our agenda to the table. The 4 agendas of YOUTHGETHER Global are education, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and exchange programs. We work on the platform of the 4 E's, and we set these 4 E's right before the AU to say that we are ready, we are willing, we are available to serve the AU to help bring African youth to a place where they go through disruptive learning and then become their own employers and employers of labor. We are praying to the AU that this mission gets their attention so that as soon as we are done with this program, we begin to find a way to take a rendezvous and begin to broach the programs that will help African youth from all over Africa to grow on their own and grow their own businesses. Thank you so very much, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Prince Dr. Osita, for that wonderful message and call to action to the AU. Next up, we're going to watch the video presentation for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, please go ahead and observe your screens as we...
A day, and there is no answer to the hunger. And the poverty never seems to go away. They are asking how much longer. Let the children go to school, let there be no reason. They can get an education. I see the beautiful minds coming from miles and miles like butterflies. Let's give the thirst in their eyes. Time is ticking, ticking, it's ticking away. Give them all for a true love. Yes, I'm looking for Tinua, there's no time to delay. The Africa we dream of, it goes away. Africa, yeah, Africa, oh.
Sisters hear their voices, know their choices. We have the power at this very hour to decide we're losing no child on the fight. That will go and live to see their practice and live to see their babies. Time is ticking, it's ticking away.
These are young people from the looking for the agenda.
Yes, I will. Africa, we dream of only take away. Africa, Africa, oh, Africa,
Hey,
She puts her hand on her stomach. His other hand is on the hard card in his pocket. The doctor knows she'll make it. As for the baby that both parents created, sitting at the gateway, they're the new parents to be. It's a good day.
Steps in the right direction. We took the road less traveled by. We put high in the reins of major sickness. Now everyone got the burden of the sadness. Time is ticking, it's ticking away. In the fall for a through, yes, I know I'll continue on. There's no time to delay. Me, Africa, with me, not only take over.
Smoke from factories, healing rivers and trees. Water's not drinkable, situations unthinkable. We must have somewhere to go when we need to go. Overcrowded spaces like a maximum sentence.
What we need is opportunity, a world in unity, a level playing field. See where we went wrong, take a look at the replay. It's time for fair play. Time is ticking, it's ticking away. Get the ball for a through ball. Yes, I know time continue, there's no time to delay. In Africa, we dream of only echoes away.
Awesome. Really great to see some names on there, and we are so blessed to have one of the singers in that video, Her Excellency Yvonne Chaka Chaka, United Nations MDG Envoy for Africa. So hand over to Dr. Ada for a couple of minutes in case there is something that needs to be announced at this moment before we move forward in the agenda. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Yes, Ambassador, thank you for the good start of this program. And thank you everyone for your presence at this noble celebration for African children in the continent of Africa. We are so blessed that all of us grew up as children of Africa, and we are here to celebrate the Day of the African Child. Before we move forward, before we call in Her Excellency, the Honorable Commissioner from African Union, I would like you to invite His Excellency Senator Orji Kalu, the Senator of Federal Republic of Nigeria, to make his remarks because he has a meeting to attend. So just a little adjustment to the program. Thank you.
You are welcome, Your Excellency Senator Orji. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon and good morning, depending on which part of the world you are. I would like to celebrate with African youth on a day like this. And it's always my pleasure to talk about Africa. And it's always my pleasure to talk about youth, women, and go on. When I was governor of Abia State, we set our agenda on youth of Africa, youth of the world, where people can know that the development of youth are very key. My foundation, the YOUTHGETHER Foundation, centered our broad day things that we do, which I'm still the chairman, whether I'm presently in Nigerian Senate, but that does not make me not to work for I'm the chief whip of Nigerian Senate. That does not make me not to work for YOUTHGETHER Foundation because it's pro bono. And I feel very elated and happy that you people are talking about African youth today and Agenda 2040. And I'm very, very inclined because most of the things we want to achieve, our foundation have been involved in it, thinking about education and achieve most of them, access to education to our people and children, and access education to the youth, access for good primary health care and secondary health care. And we also have made legislation that will protect children and women, because I'm always going, and the youth, I'm always thinking about children and women, not just thinking about youth, because if you do not prepare the early age very well, you cannot be a teenager. So you have to be very good from the kindergarten before you get to be a good youth. So I also want to congratulate all my African brothers and other brothers and from all parts of the world and country for letting me come into this program, because I'm quite busy to look at other things. We are amending some laws of our constitution and amending some laws that should be ready before election. So we are busy day and night to make sure that our Nigerian constitution is amended and electoral law out, and some of the international oil companies law we have to be amended and confirmed by end of this month. So I thank all of you. I thank Dr. Ada, and I thank every one of you who have made me to participate in this program. You know, usually I'm a businessman who found my way into politics, and it's difficult to consider being in politics. So it's a very difficult place to be when you don't talk about youth and the future of the youth. I will be very willing, if you like, to ask me any questions. I don't know what else I want to say. I will be very willing to take any question by the panelists and or the coordinator. Thank you very much, and very good morning and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Senator Orji Kalu. We appreciate the work that you are doing with your foundation. And do we have any panelists that have any questions that they would like to direct to the senator? Okay, so I see Tobias has his hand raised. Tobias, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question for Senator Orji Kalu.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Tobias Nauruki, the YOUTHGETHER Global Africa Regional Coordinator. My question to Senator Orji is, while representing the people of Nigeria, the Senate, you are also representing the voices of the many youth across Africa. Where is the place of the youth in leadership in Africa? Many of the youth have been misplaced. Many of the youth have been sidelines. What agendas do you have that support the youth? We understand millions of the youth in Africa are jobless. Can you please help us being our representative in the Senate and the entire leadership? Thank you.
Let me be honest with you. You know, the issue of youth is a recurring decimal. Every day you preach about youth, and the youth must find time to work very hard. And the youth must take their work serious, because these days the youth are trying to have this mentality of ownership, which does not work. I was a youth when I started all my life. I became a bank chairman at the age of 27, when there were only 5 banks. Now they have about 30, 40 banks in Nigeria. When there were only 5 banks in Nigeria, I was a chairman board of directors of Cooperative Bank of Eastern Nigeria Limited. And that was a very useful age. But today, youths assessing themselves mostly to Indian hemp, mostly to drugs and all the rest of them, which is not acceptable. God have given both the youth and adults sense and science. We must work hard. The youth, you cannot stay in your house. The African youths are turning into going to churches. I'm not saying going to church is very bad. I'm a Catholic, very committed Catholic, but I would like to see youths being to work and taking every job serious. We have lost the sense of unionism we used to have. When I was student union leader and as a youth, we were committed to our goal. We're not looking for anybody to dash us money, but we're looking for opportunity to strengthen the laws, strengthen the commitments of the people. But today, you can purchase youths to go and be election talks. So these are not what we're trained for. So the youth must also desist from being used by politicians as election talks. They must know what they stand for: unity, peacefulness, and direction to do their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senator, for that response. And thank you so much, Tobias, for a great question. I want to acknowledge Chief Ben Etieba. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you.
You may go ahead and ask your question to Senator Orji Kalu.
I thank you, Your Excellency. I want to use this opportunity of having the senator on this platform to ask him this question. He was a governor as a youth. He was a young man. He achieved, like he said, a lot of things early in his life. And when he was governor, my mom was governor for just a few months, but he served out 2 terms successfully. And one of the things he did, for which he will be remembered, was using sports to develop Abia State. And Enyimba won laurels all over Africa. But since he left, not much has been heard of Enyimba. I would have liked continuity along those lines, but I can't blame him because he's no longer there. Myself, I am running for governor in Anambra and in the Senator's party to APC. And one of the things I want to do, I know I'll have to speak later when I present my own paper. One of the things I want to do is to use sports like he did to develop Anambra State, albeit to update it with somebody with a great worldview that can be achievable. So, distinguished senator and my former governor, what advice will you give a Ben Etieba who's running for governor in your party in terms of using sports to develop Anambra State?
Well, you have to do a lot, Chief Etieba, using sports to achieve unity. Sports is the greatest instrument. When I was coming to run for governor, I promised people of Abia State that I was going to make Aba the center of international soccer, because the important thing is that I am a soccer fan. I love soccer. I love good football. I don't like anything. What I like to have is a good football. I don't like people who say they like Chelsea, they like Man City, they like Arsenal. But what I like is good football. So when I became governor, I promised them one thing, that if I was elected then, and I was elected, I told them I will bring the African Cup of Champions to be domiciled, because this is what excites the youth. I'll bring the African Cup of Champions that involve all African countries, and Enyimba took it back to back, 2003 and 2004. The Super Cup of Africa, Enyimba took it back to back. I was using that to develop the youths, because I know that the youths have a lot, they're having a lot of energy, and they're looking for where to exhaust this energy. And this energy is by developing sports academy, training new players and selling them in Europe also and America, everywhere in the world. So we use sports first to keep the youth busy and also to make money. Sports is business. It's a big business. When I can sell a player for 20, 30, 50 million dollars. So it's a huge business. Thank you very much. I wish you well, and I'm hoping you become governor.
Amen.
And you will do very well.
Amen.
I'm sure the coordinators and all the rest of them are looking at me as a young man. I'm not a young man. I'm 61, so I'm a very old person. Don't look at my look. Look here from my voice. Thank you very much, I wish you well.
Thank you, Excellency.
And we're in the same party. You soon be governor, and God will bless you.
Amen. God bless you, Excellency. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator, for a wonderful response. And thank you, Your Excellency, Chief Ben Etieba, for a wonderful question. And we wish you well and every blessing as you continue to lead. So before I go to the next two raised hands, we have a question from our attendees. We welcome you, we appreciate you, and thank you for participating here. And this is the question they have for you, Senator Kalu. What are the educational programs in place to help initiate change for young people?
Well, the educational program for helping young people is to continue to make sure that we put quality education. Like myself as a senator now, I'm bypassing what the state governments are doing in Abia State. I'm improving the quality of the buildings, the quality of the facilities they have. I'm improving the quality of teachers, retraining and training, because these things go together. So I am not saying that education. Am I right?
Go ahead, Senator.
Well, I thought it was up. So I think education is key to any youth development, because if they don't have a good foundation in the education, they cannot move forward. But we have placed things that will make education to be very, very, very necessary for youth to be able to continue. Because something like when I was governor, there was a free education, compulsory education for youth in Abia State, but there's no free education there today. When I was governor, there was massive development of the buildings, but today, as a senator, my resource is very limited on what I can do on education. But we have made laws that will enhance a qualitative and sound education for our youth so they can compete anywhere. Like vocational education is necessary, like education that will compete with anybody in the world. It is necessary. We are doing that, but it's not a passion for us to write new laws for education today, because the states are autonomous, and I'm only representing my state in the Senate.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So I have two more questions, but would like to acknowledge the Commissioner, Honorable Commissioner for the African Union. And if we can just take maybe one more question and then move forward to the Honorable Commissioner of the African Union. So let's take, I think, Tony from the Center for SDG Global. Tony, you have your hand raised.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Good afternoon from here. My name is Ugu Anthony. I'm speaking from Abuja. The first speaker that asked question, the second, the third, I think I'm younger to say, and the youth they are talking about is me and other people within my age bracket. Thank you, distinguished Senator, thank you for your time. Thank you for being part of this program. I know how tedious it is for your work, and you still make our time to be with us here today. I so much appreciate the topic about the youth. I am a youth and I've gone through a lot of challenges. You said youth should be hardworking. I agree with you, but as you're there, distinguished senator, I would also want to know, in Nigeria, which I am, the policies they have for the SMEs, the small businesses, entrepreneurs, which are, majority of youths. That's where we start. That's where we are starting, or that's where we started. The policies that Nigerians have for these SMEs, the youth need skill acquisition, education, and skills will go far more than any other program they are arranging for this, because when they are skillful, they employ themselves. The environment we are, especially here in Nigeria, is that when you are even skilled enough to do maybe artisan or one or two things, you find your environment very difficult. You find laws starting from the revenues, the tax collectors, a whole lot of that. I have a business and I know how hard I've been struggling as a youth. Some might be opportune that their parents have money to train them well so that they will be, but some or many, like me, we are not opportune to be trained by our parents. We trained ourselves in school. I went to university by my own struggle, and I am still doing a lot of things. I have at least getting to a stage where I can say, let me talk to other youths.
Tony,
so I want I want you, Senator, to please let me know the programs or the laws you're helping us to make as we are changing our laws concerning the youths, the entrepreneurs, and the skill acquisition. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes, thank you very much, Tony. First of all, I'm not in the executive arm of the government. And President Buhari is the president and commander-in-chief of Federal Republic. I'm only a legislator, and I remain in the parliamentary area of the government. But President Buhari has put in a lot of incentive for SME and other things like agriculture. Possibly you are living in Abuja, where you are not thinking that agriculture can make you money, because they have a lot of processes, loans they are giving to young people like you to do agriculture. I know in my senatorial district, we have collected a lot, and in Aba, those people making shirts like the one I'm wearing and making shoes, collected a lot of loans to enhance their businesses. So it depends on where you are. I can quickly give you my telephone number. You will come into my office. I'm in my private office now in YOUTHGETHER House. Now, along the expressway. I'm sure you should know YOUTHGETHER House in Abuja by the Banners Plaza. I'm
yes,
here
my
now.
distinguished.
You know YOUTHGETHER House?
Yes, my distinguished.
It's my private office. So I'm there now. So you can call me on 0803, that's +234 0803 400 0001. You can call me so I can talk to you face to face and know what the problem is, why you are not doing well on the loans. Numerous loans the central banks are giving to entrepreneurs in Nigeria.
Thank you, my distinguished senator.
Thank you so much, Senator Kalu. We appreciate you. Have an awesome day. We're so grateful for you making time to be here with us and to let us know this amazing work that you are doing. God bless you. Have an amazing day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Next, we want to welcome the Honorable Commissioner for the African Commission of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, Ms. Catherine Wanjiru. You are welcome, Honorable Commissioner. The floor is yours.
I'm making this statement on behalf of Her Excellency, Commissioner Amira El Fadil Mohammed El Fadil, who is starting another meeting. We're supposed to get into another meeting in like a minute's time. So greetings to all guests from the African Union. My name is Catherine Maina. So I'm not the commissioner, may I correct that? I'm the officer in charge of the Secretariat of the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. And I'll just read the statement for the commissioner and then I get into the other meeting. We are having many meetings today because of the Day of the African Child. May I start by thanking Youth Together initiative for inviting the African Union to be part of their commemoration during the Day of the African Child 2021. This is a great day for the African Union too, as it's the first virtual commemoration to be held after the relocation of the committee's secretariat to the Kingdom of Lesotho. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, as you are aware, Agenda 2040 was adopted by the committee during the commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child in 2015. And it was later adopted by the Executive Council of the African Union. The agenda elaborates on the vision of Africa's Agenda 2063 for the Africa we want, adopted by the African Union in 2013. And this recognizes that Africa will promote the growth of the continent and secure its future by nurturing and nourishing its children, and requires that children should therefore be empowered through the full implementation of the African Children's Charter. This year, 2021, thus presents an opportunity for the African Children's Agenda to take stock of the last 5 years under the 5-year phased monitoring and evaluation plan of Agenda 2040. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, COVID-19 has and continues to impact the rights and welfare of children and their well-being across a number of areas and domains. With the continued COVID-19 global pandemic, there are still concerns regarding the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on children's rights in Africa, as well as the implementation of Agenda 2040. Children continue to face additional threats during the pandemic, particularly physical and sexual violence. Let me reiterate that violence against children almost entirely negates the fulfillment of children's rights in the continent. In this regard, I would like to encourage member states and other stakeholders in the child protection sector to take effective measures to intensify efforts to curb all forms of violence against children to ensure the protection of children against violence. I would further like to use this opportunity to further urge member states to implement the guiding notes issued by the committee on the protection of children's rights during the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, the African Union and its policy organs are also making numerous efforts in implementing the Charter and Agenda 2040. A number of initiatives have been implemented in line with the aspirations of Agenda 2040, but I'll mention just but a few. The African Union Commission continues to play a more proactive role in coordinating a Pan-African response to online child sexual exploitation and abuse. This is through its organs, including the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child and the Pan-African Parliament. Other key milestones achieved include the development of the first draft Continental Plan of Action on online child sexual exploitation and abuse, which will also inform the African Union Commission to institutionalize and galvanize continental action, and the commissioning and completion of a study to map current responses on online child sexual exploitation and abuse on the continent, and publishing of a detailed report on potential responses that member states can use to address the crime. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, the Department of Social Affairs of the African Union also continues to advocate for the eradication of child marriages, harmful cultural practices, female genital mutilation, and online child sexual exploitation in the continent. This year, the department is implementing the new phase of the AU campaign to end child marriage, the AU Salima initiative on ending female genital mutilation, and the AU program on online child sexual exploitation in Africa. One of the upcoming events in the Harmful Practice Unit is the African Girls Summit, scheduled for 25th June 2021, under the theme, Protecting and Empowering the Role of Youth in Addressing Positive and Negative Cultural Practices to Accelerate an End of Harmful Practices. This event will precede the third African Girls Summit, scheduled to be held in November this year, to identify linkages with the 2021 AU theme of the year and synchronize activities to ensure that positive practices in communities are recognized, commended, and replicated, while negative impacts are highlighted and concrete solutions developed. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, as you are aware, the AU policy organs declared 2021 the Year of Arts, Culture, and Heritage, which will be celebrated under the theme Arts, Culture, and Heritage, Levers for Building the Africa We Want. Therefore, I wish to call upon all to join in the celebration and promotion of our African identity, renaissance, shared values, and heritage, as this plays a crucial role in building and shaping the personality of our children and young people. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, I would therefore like to take this opportunity to reiterate that the implementation of Agenda 2040 is crucial to the implementation of the AU's Agenda 2063 and SDGs 2030. Therefore, I urge the member states and other actors working on child protection to take deliberate action to ensure enhanced and accelerated implementation of the aspirations of Agenda 2040. I therefore also urge member states and civil society organizations to collaborate with the committee and complement each other's efforts with a view of accelerating efforts in achieving the aspirations of Agenda 2040 and creating an Africa fit for children. Despite the many challenges faced, I urge you to remain steadfast and resilient. Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, let me conclude by affirming our commitment as the African Union and its organs to promote and protect the rights and welfare of the child in Africa. With these brief remarks, I thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. We would like you to take a couple of questions, if that is okay.
Thank you, Your Excellency Ambassador. I would request to leave because there is another meeting that is already going on with the commissioner.
Okay.
For our staff, yeah.
Okay.
So I had asked Dr. Ada if the questions can be sent to us and we can be able to respond to them even on email.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Have a great day. And we are truly blessed to have you here present for us.
I'll give your compliments to the commissioner in a minute.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
I'm going back down to another meeting.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, we're going to carry on with our program. And up next, we want to invite our honorable guest, Miss Yvonne Chaka Chaka, United Nations MDG Envoy for Africa. Welcome, Mama Africa. We thank you for your songs. We have danced to your songs for years, and it's such an honor and a privilege to have you here with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Her Excellency. I would like to say all protocol observed. I'm very happy to be part of this amazing day, which started in my home country in South Africa. I actually want to congratulate all those students of 1976 who fought tirelessly and said we are tired of being taught in the language that we do not understand. So I'd really like to thank people like Seth Mazibuko, Baby Jana, Fikile Ngobo, and Bongi Mkabela, and thank the UN and thank the AU as well for making this day being recognized by everyone in the world. We know that over 400 children are currently living on the African continent. More than 30% of these children in Africa suffer from the consequences of chronic malnutrition. Physical and mental development disorders affect their daily lives. It's actually very sad that in the sub-Saharan Africa, 1 in 13 children died before they reached their 5th birthday in 2019. What does that mean to us or for us in Africa? About 300 million of the 350 age school children are youth, and they lack the education, which is very sad. The secondary skills education, they're not even reaching, according to the estimates of the Education Commission, whose groundbreaking 2016 report, The Learning Generation, highlighted the global learning crisis. It means that Africa is the home for those people or those children who are not learning or not even going to school at all. When it comes to our girls, it's very sad that 1 in 8 girls in the sub-Saharan Africa are married by the age of 15. If all girls completed their secondary school, we would have that by 60%. So we need our leaders to come to the party, would need our leaders to make sure that no one is left behind. We spoke about the 8 goals, the Millennium Development Goals, which we think they'd left other people or other things that are very important behind. And we moved to the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 of them. What does that mean for us? The 2063 agenda, including the 2040 agenda, it means we need to make sure that our children are given the chance. It's 30 years after the adoption of the Charter. What has happened? What has changed? 2040 is just around the corner. Some of those people in 1990, they were youth, and today they are adults. I was 26 years old then. Today, I'm 56 years old. What has changed in Africa? I know that we talk of 2063 agenda because Rome was not built in one day, but I urge our leaders, I urge our policymakers to make sure that we do not go back to where we were. We need to move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, our youth today suffer too many things. The pandemic is even worse. Lack of jobs, lack of skills. This is what, when you ask an African child, They will tell you what does youth mean today in 2020 in Africa. It's lack of opportunities, lack of work, lack of direction, lack of skills. I urge our leaders to look into that for our people. Thank you to the Global Gather, to the Youth Global Gather that really invited me to be part of this today. We want to say we as adults, we've made mistakes, but we need to forge forward and do good for you. I urge our leaders to level the playing field for our youth. I urge our leaders to make sure that the environment is conducive for our youth to be able to work. We've seen our youth crossing the seas because they want the greener pastures, and some of them die there. What does that mean for Africa? When we talk about these charters and all the aspirations, the 10 aspirations that are part of the charters, we need to make sure that we start walking the talk and we practice what we preach. We thank our leaders who were there before us. We want to say, yes, we appreciate everything that we have done, you have done for us. But Africa should not be this dark continent that everybody perceives it to be. We need to know that Africa is for all those who live in it, and Africa must be a place where the youth can be able to be empowered. Who is able to do that? You and I and those who are in power and the policy makers. Let us level the playing field for our youth. Things are getting worse. The pandemic has worsened everything. Gender-based violence, youth not going to school, young children getting married from an early age, young people succumbing to sexual abuse by different people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the time to stop now. This is the Africa we want. I'm asking a question to everybody. Our youth are crying. Our youth are not given what they are supposed to be given. Our young girls are being married at an early age. That is not the Africa that we all anticipated. Let us change the status quo. I'd like to thank President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is he's working day and night to make sure that the youth is being listened to. Let us do that, all of us. We having young people in power now. I'd like to also congratulate and thank our president, who is a woman in Ethiopia, and the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed as well in Ethiopia. We don't denounce the old people. Old means wisdom. Let us work together, but let us not forget the youth behind. Remember, when we make these policies, remember when we make all the laws, we need to bring the youth as well on the table. Otherwise, when love is not given on the table, young people are going to leave. Let us make sure that our young people are given the latitude of working, the skill, the freedom to be better people. When we talk about future leaders, remember, there will not be future leaders if they are not empowered today. Let us empower our youth today. His Excellency said he was 27 when he became the banker. Are our youth having that latitude today? No, because of so many things. But this is the Africa that we all want to see tomorrow being good, not the Africa that is going to be raped, an Africa that is going to be milked, the Africa that is going to be known as a dark continent, and we will always have to be pleading. Let us level the playing field for our youth. Let us do it now, because if we don't, we will be judged by the next generation. As I close, I want to say thank you to the Youth Gather, Global, and all the like-minded people who are on this platform. But let us make sure that we have chosen this path with all the aspirations that are there. Let us make sure that there's very little malnutrition. We make sure that we strengthen our health system. We make sure that our young people are healthy. When people are healthy and educated, they will be able to fend and do things for themselves, and no one will take them for granted. So it is imperative that we level the playing field for our youth, because tomorrow, if we do not do that, we will point at Africa. We will say that was Africa. But if we work together today, we will make sure that things like lack of opportunities, lack of work, lack of direction, lack of skills for our people is something of yesterday. Let us work together. We've chosen this path. Let no one turn us around. Let us build the Africa that we want, and let us make sure that it is fit for the African youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mama Africa. You should see everyone is just saying wonderful things about what you have shared with us. Let us level the playing field for our youth. Love that you have reminded us that this is going to be a place where our youth can be empowered. And later on, what they are going to turn around and ask us is, what did we do to get us to this place? And we have to be able to give them a valid response. And so I would like to open the floor for a couple of questions for Miss Yvonne Chaka Chaka, Mama Africa. You should see them. They're all saying, thank you so much, Mama Africa. Wonderful, Mama Africa. God bless you for your talk and empowerment and just the work that you have done over the years. I don't think many people get to know it, but those of us that know are so grateful, because we know that we are here because of the positive work that you have done. I would like to ask if you have any questions. There is a Q&A tab at the bottom of the Zoom screen for you to be able to ask your questions, but I will go ahead and open it to the panelists. Does anyone have a question for Mama Africa, Miss Yvonne Chaka Chaka? Okay, I see Tobias and I see Madonna, but Tobias, I'm going to allow Madonna to ask her question. Go ahead, Madonna, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, Mama Africa, thank you for such an empowering talk. And I would like to use my first name, which is Nkechi, my African name, to raise my question to you. I am an indigenous researcher of mathematical knowledge systems in Africa. And I want to congratulate you first and foremost on your necklace, which is an example of an African fractal. And I want to know what you are doing, or if you're doing anything working with math and science educators like myself to promote our indigenous knowledge systems, because the cradle of civilization is Africa. And until, just like the children of Soweto struggled to be taught in their own cultural language, until we go back to those things we have in our culture to foster our creativity and innovation, we will always be left behind. And when you talk of entrepreneurship education, this is part of how it gets done when we go back to what we have.
Thank you very much for that question, and congratulations. Unfortunately, I am not a mathematician, but I want to know or think that mathematics started in Africa. So I want to congratulate you for the good work that you are doing. I think it is imperative that our lawmakers should be reminded that the indigenous languages should not be put down. We've allowed people to come from outside to come and dictate to us how we should live, how we should dress up, how we should conduct our things. We need to start taking everything into our hands as Africans and do things that will make us better people, and let nobody write our stories. Our stories should be written by us. Our stories should be told by us. We have given latitude to people to do things for us. And that's why it's imperative that the youth have to be given everything that they need to know who they are, appreciate who they are, and work with people like you. You know, as I said in my closing remarks, youth means wisdom or wise. But today, our youth, it's lack of skills, lack of direction, lack of work, lack of opportunities. So it's people like you who are going to impart the skill, and it should be allowed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nkechi, for that wonderful question and the work that you continue to do in the sciences and mathematics and technology and engineering. Thank you so much. Tobias, please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. And first of all, I would like to acknowledge Mama Africa. You really inspire me as a youth through your songs, and you are indeed a role model to majority of the youth in Africa. My question now to you is, in your music industry, where is the place of the youth? Are you as well using your music industry to mentor the youth? Because majority of the youth today in the entire Africa, they don't have jobs. We have the skills we acquired through classwork in our colleges. That those who went to high school, the secondary schools, they have the skills, but getting the opportunities to amplify the skills they have and the techniques they have no one to hold their hands. As the YOUTHGETHER Global, maybe African Regional Coordinator, we have done diagnosis in different countries and found out that the youth in different countries, especially South Africa and other countries in Africa, have the techniques, have the know-how, but remember, they can't start an opportunity to implement it to the end because, one, they don't have money, they don't have a mentor to mentor them, they don't have a link to link them to the best opportunities that they think, if I indulge in this, I can be able to succeed. So where's the place of the youth in your industry, and then also the opportunities that you may have to be able to have the African child, the youth, to be able to use the techniques they have, and also the abilities and the talents? Thank you so much, Mama African. Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to correct one thing. I really appreciate being called Mama Africa, and I love it. But I think Mama Africa was Miriam Makeba. I'm very happy to be called the Princess of Africa. I loved her very much, and I respect her very much. And I think that title remains and should be only called to her, because she was only Mama Africa, and she remains Mama Africa even when she's not there. I would appreciate everybody to call me the Princess of Africa, and I love you very much. I want to remain very young. But Tobias, I want to say the fourth industrial revolution is here. Technology is something that we all use. Other people use it to their advantage, other people use it, to their disadvantage. But for the youth, I'd like to say thank you very much to Tshepi from South Africa, who managed to get me to be part of this. The world is everyone's oyster. The world is opened. Technology is there for young people to use. And it's very, very good to know that our young people really try to work. But do you also ask for a helping hand? I sometimes find the youth, they think it's not good to ask, or you're not smart when you ask. It is imperative to get the people who are like-minded with you. I do lots of mentoring with young people, whether it's through music, whether it's through public speaking, or just telling them what made me to have the staying power. It's respecting yourself, respecting your art, and making sure that the money that you get, you invest it properly, paying your taxes as well. Those are the most important things that one has to be doing. I know it's not very easy to start a business, but we've got different organizations in South Africa where young people are given skills and different people go out there to help the young people. So with technology, you could work with youth from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Tanzania, or from South Africa, and you can come together and share those skills that you have. You can have a partner in South Africa and somebody sitting in Nigeria. Because of technology, that has expanded everybody's horizon, and that needs to be done. So as I said before, you as the youth, make sure that when these adults and policymakers and people who make all these framework do all these things, you get a seat on the table.
Thank you so much for that wonderful response and call to action for the youth. Asking what do you bring and make sure you have a seat at the table. Thank you so much, the Royal Princess of Africa. We appreciate you and are so grateful to have you with us this morning, this afternoon and evening, wherever you are. Thank you. Next up, I would like to call on Chief Ben Etieba, management consultant, entrepreneur, thought leader, and chairman of Aquila Capital Limited. You are welcome. The floor is yours. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I feel so greatly honored to be sharing the same platform as some of the greatest people in Africa that I admire, and to be having to speak after Yvonne Chaka Chaka, whose music I grew up with while I was still in London. I'm delighted to be here on this platform. Precisely speaking, because of the work I believe I've done with the youth, especially in Nigeria. Since I came back, I've been back. I was away for 25 years in England, and I've been back to Nigeria for the last 14 years. And by the way, the question is always, when you notice things are going wrong, especially for the youth, what are you going to do about it? And I am on the verge, hopefully by His grace, going to emerge if wishes were horses, the next governor of Anambra State, precisely because I want to take what I've done for the youth into a bigger stage. And whilst I finish this introduction, all of you should take this as an invitation to the inauguration of the next governor of Anambra State on the 17th of March next year. Yvonne Chaka Chaka, you are invited. Okay, I know that will be there. And all of you, please. But enough of that. When His Excellency Dr. Senator Ojuzo Kalu spoke, I asked a question. Ordinarily, when I have to have my own platform, I don't ask questions because I get to speak when the time is right. But I have to ask him. He served as governor as a young man, and at the time, my mother was governor, albeit for a few months, the only governor who's been a woman in Nigeria. And one of the things she did when she was governor was to take very major steps to implement the Child Rights Act in Anambra State. And somebody like her should be familiar with this and what she did while in office, because she received that in the US during that period. But for me, I see a problem. I see a situation. I'm talking from my perspective, having lived in Nigeria in the Southeast for the last 14 years. I see our children not getting a fair deal, okay, especially in education. I see schools that don't look like schools. I see schools that don't have perimeter fencing, that leave the pupils, the students, with no incentive to study, but to drop out and to go chase businesses from a very young age. I see schools that are not safe for kids to be in. And we all get to hear the terrible news of kidnappings, where all these bandits go to schools to kidnap pupils and students. And we're all touched by that. So what are we doing about it and what are we going to do about it, given what has brought us all here today? So Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and honor to be having to share this platform. And I thank YOUTHGETHER Global for organizing this and for the 4 E's that they are chasing. And let me just say one or two things from what I have here. And we know that today is the 16th of June, it's a Wednesday. Today we're marking the Day of the African Child, hence we're all gathered here. And we're looking at a Nigeria that should be fit for children. And so we join the rest of Africa, the rest of the international community, to celebrate today, but to ponder and ask ourselves soul-searching questions 30 years after the adoption of the Charter. And how do we accelerate the implementation of our Agenda 2040 for an African child? This whole thing started when in June of 1976, 10,000 Black children protested for quality education and the right to be educated in their own language. They marched. A lot of them didn't make it back because they lost their lives. But that moved the world and moved Africa. That 30 years ago, in June of 1991, the OAU, as it was then known, today AU, designated 16th of June today to honor those students that took part in the protest, and even more so, to honor the children that lost their lives in Soweto. So far, yearly, we commemorate this day. The African Committee of Experts on the Human Rights and Welfare of the Child, established under the Articles 22, 32, and 33 of the African Charter on Human Rights and Welfare of the Child, selected this year's theme, the theme that we're dealing with today, to mark the 30th anniversary. The African Committee recognizes the importance of the advocacy tool for enhancing the visibility of the Charter, as well as promoting children's rights and welfare issues. In 2016, the African Committee adopted the Agenda 2040, fostering an Africa fit for our children. It is a 25-year agenda. It's a long-term one, and hence we're discussing this today. It is guided by 7 aspirations and 6 calls for an African whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially our women, our youth, and our children. In a conference held in 2015 in Addis Ababa to assess the status of the rights of the African child, it was part of a commemoration of the activities of the 25th anniversary of the African Charter on the Rights of Welfare of the Child. Agenda 2040 is guided by 10 aspirations. The African Child's and the Children's Charter are supervised by the African Children's Committee to provide an effective continental framework for advancing the rights of children, the existence of an effective child-friendly national legislative policy, and the institutional framework in all member states, including Nigeria, the registration of every child's birth and other vital statistics. Every child survives and has a healthy, to ensure that children survive and have a very healthy childhood, and every child grows up well-nourished and accesses the necessities of life. How far have we achieved this in Nigeria, I ask? When we know that education is poorly funded, when we know that those who should be taking care of the affairs of children are more interested in surviving in a society and in communities where the economy is terrible, and where we know that it's every man to his own and God for us all. Nobody's interested in society anymore. in Africa, in Nigeria. Anyway, Agenda 2040 was adopted by the committee in 2016 and approved
I think we're experiencing network issues.
Towards the implementation of the African Child's Charter. The DAC therefore aims at promoting children's rights across African countries, including Nigeria. Observing a day is a constant reminder to governments and non-NGOs like YOUTHGETHER Global and other stakeholders like myself and yourselves of the challenges of the African child. According to statistics, approximately half of the African population is made up of children under the age of 18. They do not get basic education like we know. And since most of them drop out of schools, like I mentioned earlier, by the age of 10, especially in my state, Anambra State, and in Nigeria as a whole, it is terrible. Very sad. Currently, children's education and other rights are being threatened by insecurity, poverty, inadequate budgetary allocation, as well as natural disasters. And of course, we know what the pandemic did to that sector over the last year. The number of out-of-school children in Nigeria is said to be around 10 million. And that's the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. But when I say it's the highest, we also have to understand the fact that we have also the highest population in sub-Saharan Africa. The reason for this large number, despite several interventions, can be adduced for many reasons. While many children and their parents have been displaced, of course, we know what has been going on in the northern part of Nigeria, especially the northeast, with a lot of displacements as a result of insecurity and insurgency. This has wreaked havoc in children being in schools. So apart from our population, we've had peculiar reasons for this to happen. And of course, that's for the Northeast. If you come down to the South, like I said, various other reasons where kids are now seeing acquisition, wealth, unnecessary materialistic acquisition as the way forward. So they want to start early and not value education. According to a recent report, armed groups carrying out kidnapping for ransom, a series of raids in schools, universities, where more than 700 students are taken for ransom in December alone, contributes to this. I've talked about COVID-19 pandemic. Poor funding, I've mentioned, poor budgetary allocation, I've mentioned, and it is incumbent on all of us. I'm very delighted that the incumbent senator, current senator spoke earlier, who also has been a former governor, spoke, and highlighting what they've been doing in the National Assembly to ensure that things get busy and better for our children, and also what he did as a governor.
Zach Orji, if you are here, please identify yourself. Either send me a personal message or put a message in the chat for us so that we know that you are here. And whilst we wait for you, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. David Holland, convener of Learning in the 22nd Century, L22C UK. David, welcome to the session today. The platform is yours.
Very humbled, and a huge thank you from myself and our organization for being invited at maybe a late moment in
You're welcome.
I've only had a short period of time to prepare, but thankfully, having visited YOUTHGETHER over about a year ago now, I'm very delighted to be asked back to share maybe our progress, but with every sentence I speak and share with you from our humble perspective, that we can place the word Africa and the word children and the word future into what I say, and somewhere in the next 5 or 6 minutes there may be a spark, a light, a trigger of thought, an ingenious moment that can connect us, that can help those youngsters that we were of course all part of one day in the past. So we've all been there, we've all done it, and we all have our equal and opposite struggles and issues, perceptions and opinions, all of which are fairly humble, but all of which can be monumental if they're brought together. And L22C is a global platform which we're bringing together all ages, all cultures, all opinions, and all practicalities to seek solutions for moving forward as a global nation, of which Africa is a huge part. So on that basis, I thank you all the dignitaries. Forgive me for my humble layman approach to my thanks, but I'm very humbled to share some of our concerns, our thoughts, our actions, our wisdom, vision, excitement, and uncertainty. And then excitement and uncertainty, I think, is two of the most important ingredients that you have in Africa with all your nations for your children. And of course, that's pulled together now by this wonderful organization, Youth Together Global. Learning in the 22nd century believes, encourages, and guides the natural leadership qualities we were all born with. Based on empathy and compassion, your children will lead us to a safer world. There is no doubt. And there's a because. We believe it's not about gender difference. We're all human. We believe it's not about generation difference. We're all alive. We're not about cultural difference. We all have our culture. There are no differences. We're in this, our future, together. All of us are self-leaders of our own future. We're all able to raise the standards of giving by learning the wisdom and forgotten values. Forming a new foundation of learning for a new, exciting and uncertain future by the raising of our self-standards of our lives and our living. We will discover a new form. Child and youth adult role models that we are blessed with will be given an increasing exposure and respect, allowing all others to follow. We're experiencing that as leading children enact their leadership qualities based on empathy and compassion, their engagement in leadership roles are now starting to grow. Learning in the 22nd century's role is to guide, direct, and lead in both macro and micro roles of leadership across the globe. Elevating the next generation of girls and boys of every African nation to those positions, locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. Understanding the acceptance of the rooted concerns we face today is essential. And this mix of wisdom and vision with excitement and uncertainty is at the heart of the L22C learning experience. A global engagement by raising entrepreneurial skills in the youth of tomorrow is starting to be acknowledged across governing bodies, corporate agencies, institutions, organizations, and community groups here in the UK and certainly across the globe. Every African nation has their child population that has this new life opportunity, and we will see and openly accept a lifestyle in the future where there is less technology, where we have greater value, and where materialism will not be the reason for living, where taking is replaced by giving. In the next 10 years, we want to accept this acceptance of changing lifestyles and values to develop into action and results throughout the African continent, and the opportunity for every African child to join learning in the 22nd century is definitely available. As our youth gain the ability to communicate with authenticity and with the terminology, language, and literacy in a way that can be understood and respected by all, we will see transition turn into transformation within the next 15 years. It takes a generation to transition, but only a moment to transform. Please don't miss this transition period of the next 15 years. It's very, very important. Exchanging caring and compassionate feminine and male traits in actionable and digestible ways is now acknowledged as leadership by all. Leadership by a mix of generations, a mix of gender, a mix of culture. This will continue to develop over the next 10 years as respects of forgotten values come back into focus. Respect and differentials will be two essential ingredients that will form part of a whole new life learning curriculum. Simple, but not simplistic, will allow for all to participate. Learning anything at any time from anyone of any age, anywhere, is the L22C pledge. Children and parents of Africa are all invited. We're experiencing here in the UK a growing number of girls' schools, for example, organizations devoted to the development of the 4 E's: education, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and exchange. Already, we're seeing an increasing number of females in all areas of leadership across society. These girls' school organizations, like the Girls' Day School Trust, are a visionary example. Learning in the 22nd century want to be part of this delivery of authentic life learning across all African nations with the next 15 years. The next 15 and the 15 onward following, we will want to see the discussions and actions of equality and opportunity starting at grassroots, all learning level. Myths must be debunked, and we need to join in the momentum that has already started elsewhere in the world. The myth that we have to be taught to be genius. We're born genius. The myth that we're taught to be creative. We're born creative. And the myth that we have to wait for opportunity. We are living the opportunity. The learning for leadership and opportunity is one that everyone is eligible for. An example of this is the future world of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths. With more and more interest, studying these subjects will allow for a huge change in science. In the future, every African child must have the opportunity to enjoy this global community of STEM. Making more discoveries with more diverse minds, solving more problems to enable a safer, smarter working economy based on caring. This is where new thinking happens. This is where learning in the 22nd century will be different. Very, very different. Africa has the opportunity to change the societal message at the beginning of the child's education. Africa has the opportunity to lead the rest of the other 5 continents of the world towards a life of learning, an opportunity that will create choices that we, the human race, have not before been focusing on since the discovery of modern technology. A life of learning is what we're wanting for the future for an Africa fit for children. We believe youth in leadership, guided by wisdom and vision, driven by excitement and uncertainty, will lead us to a safer, smarter, working, balanced, thriving life economy based on caring, respecting, valuing, slowing, and growing together. So there are no limits, and there are no questions of Africa being fit for children. No question. But learning is in the balance. No longer will innovation on the effects be recognized. It has proven to only compound the problems of our past. Our future will be ingenuity focused, ingenuity on the causes of the problems. This will be the opportunity to create choices for the future. Learning in the 22nd Century will be launching on the 22nd of February 2022. We can be including 22 African countries in our global delivery, and Africa and its children are ingenious. Just join in. Africa is fit for children and our future. Thank you. I hope that makes sense, and I hope I was on time, and thank you once again for being able to just share a little part of what we're doing elsewhere, and with the possibility to include. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David, and the work that you're doing at L22C in the UK. It's good to see you again. I remember meeting you last year as well. So really, really great to see you again, and looking forward to doing more work with you. And thank you for being part of this and being part of the work to really elevate the Day of the African Child. Thank you for that warm invitation to us to come in and see what you are definitely doing. And we are going to be looking out for ways that we can begin to and continue to work together, because the future of leadership hangs in the balance of what we decide to do today. And so every one of us has a way to become part of that. And so when you think about it, think about what you bring and how you can begin to develop yourself as the youth, because this world doesn't get better without you. And so thank you so much, David. Please remain here with us. If anyone has got a question for David and the work he is doing with learning in the 22nd century, learning is looking very different. I think 2020 gave us a wake-up call. And we have got to now begin to think into how we are going to learn, how we're going to develop ourselves, and how we are going to be part of the solution, right? So if you have any questions, the panelists, any comments that you'd like to offer for David's session, please go ahead and do so. If not, I have a question for you, David, if that's okay.
Please, yes.
What do you see as the main priority over the next year and over the next 3 to 5 years? Because being that we've just come out of a global pandemic, and now we are getting into 2021 and beyond, of building back better, how do you see L22C's work becoming a priority in how we can begin to build better in learning?
Well, I think the first point of that is for everyone to purchase themselves a mirror.
Love
because
it.
Learning starts with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look in the mirror and we ask ourselves maybe 1 or 2 questions, is what perspective am I looking at this from? And that, I believe, is what will change in the coming years. You said the next year, nothing much will happen. We will be in this state of confusion, not knowing. And this is not children. I'm talking about everybody. We're all in this together. We're all children. We just happen to be a little older. So look in the mirror and ask, what perspective am I coming from this? My local, my regional, my national, my global? Where am I seeing this from? And you can only see it from one perspective. So we have to be far more open and far more allow ourselves to be more vulnerable to take other people's humble opinions or humble experiences. And this is our catchphrase. So if I can answer your question, is where wisdom and vision, which I believe we all have, no matter what age, we all have wisdom and vision. But what we must unlock is this excitement and uncertainty, which is the part of our brain which is empty. As clever as we all are, less than 20% of our brain is full. with all and everything we know for as far as we can remember. But the mass opportunity that we all have, children even more than us, but we're all children, we have 80% of our brain that's empty where we need to learn. And that in there lies excitement and uncertainty. We are all uncertain. We are all excited about what could be. And if we harness that and understand that from the biggest boardroom company through to the smallest child walking 3 miles in Uganda to their school, if you've got the power to walk 3 miles on your own to school, you've got the power to do far less, because it requires far less from everybody than what we're currently doing. We just need to focus with the emptiness that we have left in our brain to reset the sail and learn. We've got 79 years to the 22nd century. A lot of us listening today will no longer be here, but a lot of our grandchildren will be. That's where the focus needs to be. That's where I believe the change, to answer your question, in the next 3 to 5 years will have to happen. If it does, we can start to be back on track. Well,
Thank you.
After 5 years, ask me next year.
Okay. Thank you so much, David, for that resounding reminder about what are we going to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So thank you so much. Next up, we have Professor Nkechi Agu, Professor of Mathematics at the City University of New York and the Global STEM Specialist. And we are going to be here and the 3 times a Carnegie Foundation Fellow. So we look forward to listening to what you have to share with us about innovation, technology, and STEM education. The platform is yours. Welcome.
All protocols observed. I want to first of all thank YOUTHGETHER for this opportunity to share with you all what the children of Soweto told us in 1976, that we have got to use our indigenous knowledge systems in our education if we want to promote innovation, technology, and STEM education. We have got to do it from a perspective of what we have. And if you look at my title there, you will see the word Akwete. And those of you who are Nigerian know that the women of Akwete are very skilled in coming out with beautiful attire. And I will use myself as an example. When I was studying mathematics in Nigeria at the undergraduate level, I learned concepts in abstract algebra from the perspective of snowflakes, yet I had never seen snow. And so some of those things I was learning did not make sense to me until I came to America and I actually saw snow and even realized that my teacher could have taught me the same thing from the Akwete cloth, from the Adire cloth, from the Ashoke that we have in Nigeria. And once you start to do that, then you promote entrepreneurship education, you promote innovation, you also promote technology. Can we move to the next slide, please? So I want to talk about what I do or what we are doing with the Carnegie Foundation project, and also what we do on the vocational educational side with Chi STEM Toys Foundation that I am a founder of. Can we move to the next slide? And I'm going to use my talk from the example of the Ndebele people of Southern Africa. Like I said before, we need to foster worldwide education of our mathematics, our science, our technology, our history, and culture. one of the things that need to change in order for that to happen is the curriculum, how we teach those concepts, from what perspective we are teaching them. Like the children of Soweto told us that language is important for empowerment, educational empowerment. And also, when you want to talk about the girl child or empowerment of the girl child, also the pedagogical method by which you use can either empower or disempower. I had wanted to ask the senator a question, but I couldn't because he had to go. And that was with regard to empowerment through sports, because most of the time it is targeted towards sports that is more of a male-dominated type of sports, as opposed to things that females can also engage in. Can we move to the next slide, please? I want to talk about what mathematical storytelling is from my perspective. It is something that uses the tools of mathematics, theories, concepts, indigenous knowledge systems, cultural artifacts to tell stories about people and communities. I was very happy to see the Princess of Africa wearing a traditional African necklace that can be used to teach the mathematics of fractals. We have a lot of fractals in African traditions, especially in architecture and so forth. But the issue is, are we making the connections between what we have in our culture and bringing that also in the classroom so that our children can take pride in their culture and so that they can innovate, they can become cultural entrepreneurs, and also so that we can have promote tourism through what we have. The ancient Benin Empire was very skilled in their steel technology. But how are those skills being brought into teaching our students science and technology? We have got to go back to what we have. And I like to use the Ndebele people because when I was introduced to them by Africa Views organization, Wale Ajibede, the founder, what I recognized was that they had a lot of mathematics in their way of life. But yet I had never opened a geometry book to hear about the Ndebele people at all. And once I got introduced to them, I saw that a lot of things they were doing could be used to teach some of the things I teach in my discrete mathematics class, which were being done from an abstract perspective or a Eurocentric perspective. Yet I was teaching in a college that is predominantly African American over African American and Hispanic American, because you know that Hispanics also have African heritage, 70%. Now, what I use the Ndebele dolls, but this could be done with any type of African cultural artifacts or other things we have in our science and technology. So it doesn't have to be restricted to the doll, but I use the doll as a way of promoting the education of the girl child and helping people to bring visibility to women in science in Africa, because we are an endangered species. Less than 1% of the women in science are like me with a PhD. Yet we are more than 51% of the population. So how do we get a girl child to come in and to do study subject matters in STEM, to go into STEM career field? And so the Ndebele people, they use dolls in symbolic ways. And what is interesting is that it is not just the females that create dolls, also males and all ages. And we have dolls in all our African traditions, and we have other types of cultural artifacts of games and toys and what have you that this could be replicated with. Next slide, please. So I want to share with you my Carnegie project, for which I was a 3-time fellow. The project started at the Federal University of Technology, Akure Center for Gender Studies in Science and Technology, and then moved further to the National Mathematical Center, Abuja, where the project still continues till today, and I'm working with a team of 12 researchers to study indigenous knowledge systems of the various ethnic groups in Nigeria and to create curriculum that can be used in the classroom to teach some of the very same things that are being taught to our children from a Eurocentric perspective. As you can all see, the title of the project. And part of what we do also with this project is to get people to learn about various groups of Nigerian women who are doing significant things in the landscape, in the scientific landscape. So they study the lives of the Nigerian women in agricultural research for development and other women's groups like that to help to build capacity of a youth. So what you see here are some Ndebele dolls, not created by Ndebele people, but created by students in my discrete math class in the context of teaching them graph theory and teaching them about networks, which is very important in engineering education and transportation and city planning. You've got to understand about network systems. But they are doing so also from the perspective of reading the biography of a woman that they probably never heard of, who is doing significant things in the agricultural landscape of Nigeria. And the networks you see on these dolls come directly out of their analysis of the lives of the women. And of course, you see me there with 7 because 7 is an important number in the African traditional, in most African traditions. In the Bowery tradition, the Bowery people, you find them in Abuja, Nasarawa, that area. 7 is a significant number in their kingship cycle. So when you start to talk about that, you also teach about the culture. Next slide, please. What you see here, one of the women in NIWAD, Nigerian Women in Agricultural Research for Development, a university professor who is working in the agricultural sector too, went to do work with a collaborative project with some women farmers in Anambra. And here is a picture. But what we are doing here is to show students in graph theory that whenever you have a picture, that is a map, and that map can be translated to a vertex edge graph, a network. So this is some of the curriculum that was created. And in the process of doing this, you're helping students to understand that farming, young children to understand that farming is an important occupation, and farming is an occupation that we need to be proud of. In fact, in Nigeria today, they are seeing the importance of farming because certain groups of Nigerians are threatening not to send food to certain areas of Nigeria. So if people are self-sufficient, then they don't have to worry about whether food comes from one part or goes to another. This is also developed from the work of another woman. Her work is in wind energy. And here we developed, read her paper and developed something that can be used to teach basic things like ratios and proportions. But now you're doing it from the perspective of also telling the story about the professor, and students get to learn about some of the things that they need to struggle with as girls, some of the things you have to struggle with to become successful because in certain careers that are predominantly male dominated. Next slide, please. And one of the things about the Ndebele people is that They use color. Color is, they are very colorful, but those colors are sometimes send coded messages. And one of the things we are losing in Africa are crypto systems. The Yoruba people have this talking drum, but the talking drum is also a crypto system because it is used to send a message. But are we teaching these when we are teaching our students our children computer sciences, or teaching them how to code? Are we first and foremost teaching them how to code using our own traditional ciphers? The IFA is a binary system. The AFA that is used by the Igbo is a base 4 system. Are we teaching base 2, base 4 using our traditional cultures? What we have, we need to bring those back. Even in our traditional palaces, like what you see here is the coronation hall of the Deji's palace in Akure Kingdom. And in there are mathematical symbols that can be used, also brought into the classroom. So this is the type of work that we are using, we are doing in the National Mathematical Center to change or transform the curriculum so that it can be one that will empower our children also culturally and promote our culture and lead to a cultural renaissance. Because when you start doing this, you can now promote tourism and culture. You are now promoting entrepreneurship, teaching functional education where students can now come out and they can be business entrepreneurs. You have got to provide an enabling environment, and it has got to start also in the university and in the school system. So what this type of work does is that it brings recognition to what we have, our indigenous knowledge. The previous speaker spoke about the fact that everybody is creative, everybody has a genius, but we need to encourage it. We need to help them give birth to what they have inside them, or what their ancestors promoted to them, that they may not see the connection between the formal educational landscape and what they are doing at home. It brings recognition to women in STEM who are making a difference, because until we share the stories of these women, it is also part of mentoring the girl child for what to expect if you're going in the field. This is the trajectory that this person had to take to get to where they are today. And it promotes the use of culture and women's stories in the teaching of mathematics. Can we move to the next slide, please? Apart from that, when students start to create something, from there they can innovate and make it better. Like with the Ndebele dolls, it doesn't just stop at the Ndebele doll. You can now use it to help a student to go into robotics, where they can now try to create a doll that walks, that talks, that does a whole bunch of things. And like I said, it doesn't have to be Ndebele dolls. It could be something else from the traditional culture. Next slide, please. Can you go back to the previous slide that has the recommendation? So I have basically 3 recommendations related to education, STEM education, promoting innovation, and so on. We need to use what we have in our culture so that our children can take pride in it, they can innovate, they can move it to the next level. In fact, during the Nigerian Civil War, the Biafran scientists used what they had. And a famous saying is, do what you can with what you have from where you are. If we want our children to be empowered, we want our girl child to be empowered, we have got to go back to what we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Nkechi, for that very informative presentation and reminders of just how powerful we have, just the power of what we have as people from Africa, and how the youth can begin to mine that powerful background and heritage that we have. And so what we're going to do is we're going to request you to please write out your questions, and we will take them at the end of the presentations. If you can, there is a Q&A tab at the bottom of the Zoom app that you can use to also write them out so that you don't forget, because we want to get to answer your questions. Next up, we have Vivian Iro Uchime, who is the principal partner of Vivian's legal consult in the Netherlands, Amsterdam. Vivian, are you with us?
Who have spoken very well and who are all passionate of the girl child, of the African child at this point in time. My 20 points is going to be from the first. I have to apologize for not tendering a paper. The notice came at a very short time, so I couldn't do much. But we can talk, because I believe discussions like this can make a lot of difference as well. With regards to protocols, I stand on already established protocols. You know, putting all the great ladies here and the great gentlemen who have spoken, who are still about to speak, into considerations. I think elimination of child labor in Africa, seeing it as a very big challenge. We have to go back to the ILO program on elimination of child labor. You know, the 1992 draft on that same issue, the child labor, elimination of child labor. I see that a lot of people have tried to speak on the way forward for the African child, the pros and the cons and all that. I want to rely on that charter, and I want to make some of my recommendations as well. First, who is a child? We're talking about, and who is a child who can be labored? We're talking about children between the ages of 5 and 17. Some are being hired for the purpose of wages. Some are being put out there, maybe for hawking. In my views, I will also put in things like early marriages, because some families, especially in the African context, cannot really train their girl child, and think the opportunity or the solution to the problem is for the girl to be married off. And this happens most often, not as it used to be in the past, but it still happens. So when they marry out these girls, this is what I describe as early marriage. Is also a form for the family, is a form of income, because sometimes they say the girls have to get married for them to use the dowry pay or to train their brothers. So we're looking at economic values. We're looking at economic situation. We're looking at social values here. So these values, how do they infiltrate into our system that at the long run, they affect an African child? When a child is married between the ages of say 13 and 17, that child does not have the opportunity to go to university or acquire skills after primary school. In most cases, after secondary school. And you and I know that every speaker on this forum today has obtained some form of education either formal or informal, that enable you to be here today to speak on your very profession. So when a child did not go to school or did not have the opportunity of going to school, there's a saying that I picked one time, and the saying is the qualification of an illiterate is hard labor in most cases. So if you're an illiterate, most of you're seen as a laborer. So these children continue to labor from that age until their old age. And what are they to the society? Less. So, but when a child has an opportunity of going to school, of acquiring some kind of skills, a child can be a tailor. You can, when a child learns how to sew, when a child learns how to do things, you won't call it labor, you call it education and skills acquisition. And these are the things that are going to propel the child for the future. The policymakers try to overlook so many things, in the sense that when you make a law that is punishable to an extent, people will deter from, not trying to offend the laws. If there's a law in every country, if there's law in every country in Africa that says a child between the ages of 5 and 17 is not employable unless for skills acquisition, which can be training, then people who employ this, who are employers of this labor, will now desist. So that will add up to the number of children that from the inception of this charter that has reduced. About 300,000 children have been reduced from the have been eliminated from the labor. So the issue that we are looking at today as an African child and the elimination of child labor, the basic thing that is here is that we have to move from the commitment part that everybody is here committed and now go over to the action part. And that is that the commitment part, that we all have this interest, we are passionate about the African child, we want the best for the African child, we're all talking about how to take the African child to the next level. So we need to move from this to the next action. The next action is, how can we work with the policymakers to make sure that these children are where they are supposed to be? For instance, in as much as I commend the YOUTHGETHER Global for this beautiful program they're doing today, I also look at it like you would have had an opportunity of putting a child to speak on maybe basic things like education, experiences, or what they're doing and that kind of things. So, but in that case, what it means is that you're giving a child a sense of belonging. When a child has a sense of belonging in the society, he's trying to strive harder. So I'm really sorry. There's so much distraction. I have another meeting and I've been being picked up to get up. It's getting late. I have so many things here to do. So because I stayed put to be able to speak on this, but unfortunately I can't continue. And I have to say, I commend every speaker here who had, prepared himself or herself Unfortunately, I've not done that now, but I believe that next time I'll be able to do better, and I'll be able to speak to you on elimination of child labor, especially in the African context. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vivian. We appreciate you and are grateful that you were able to make it to commemorate this Day of the African Child with us. We appreciate your sentiments, your calls to action, and really having us consider what is it that we are going to do after we have come together with this wonderful thoughts that we have. What are the necessary actions that we need to take? So next up, we have my fellow Governing Council member, Mary Kurek, joins us. And welcome, Mary. So good to see you.
You too.
Awesome. So we're looking forward to what you're going to share with us as far as engaging African children for the African action. So welcome.
Thank you very much. What an esteemed group here. And I'm so, just honored and have such a happy face today for meeting everybody and getting excited to maybe get to know some of these folks a little better. So thank you for the honor and the opportunity. I'd like to just open with a quote from a poem. So here we go. Today there is no repose. The sun will rise. The rain will fall. Another day will fall upon these saddened eyes. End quote. The quote I just read was written by a 17-year-old Nigerian girl who submitted some poems recently to our Global Poetry Project for a girls mentoring program that His Excellency, Dr. Osita Anamika, and I are piloting. The poet explains that the poem is, and I quote, about days of pain, sadness, and depression. In my family, we can hardly afford a 3-square meal per day. There are days we would go hungry and nothing or less food to eat. There are also days we would cry ourselves to sleep in hope of a miracle someday. I decided to put my current situation into writing to comfort myself and hope for better days ahead. So for better days ahead, she says, what do those days look like for Africans right now, or at least many of the Africans? Poverty figures from the World Poverty Clock shows as current as a few days ago that 52% of Africans are living in extreme poverty in rural areas of Africa, with females only slightly above males. Daunting statistics, but let's make it real because there are a lot of moving parts to helping the most at-risk children. And we absolutely do want to get to those better days ahead. Where we find one of those moving parts is actually in an excerpt of the third of the trilogy of poems submitted by that same Nigerian girl. And I quote, each night before she goes to bed, she thanks the good Lord above for giving her the strength to get through each long day. End quote. This poem, says our poet, and I quote her again, is about the travails, sorrows, and hard work of my single mother. My father abandoned us 12 years ago, and since then, my mother has been performing both parent duties. We are 3. I wrote a poem to comfort her that all will be well and there will be light at the end of the tunnel. The poem directs us to maybe the root of the tree, so to speak, when we look at the overall problem of helping the vulnerable children of Africa. If they are helpless, so too then are their parents. Figures from Gallup poll March 2020, sub-Saharan Africa has the highest percentage of single mothers worldwide at 32%. If we dig down, we'll find that mothers who have never been married are the most vulnerable. We've talked about that a little bit here today. So from a broad stroke perspective, in order to help children, do we need to be focusing on the parents too? Maybe first. The unmarried mother, and more so the mother who has never been married, must have our attention. Poverty has clearly settled in during the pandemic and may be in the place for a while, given the pandemic statistics in the continent, and I'm sure I don't need to share those with you right now. But these are big issues for even large NGOs to tackle. God bless our hardworking problem solvers because we will not be able to get it all done. It's not your job or mine to eradicate all poverty, fix education for every single child, or support every single parent. But it is in the trying, the unified work of taking risks, raising programs, advocating and navigating the tough spots, praying out loud, and placing love completely on the table. That is our task, as long as we have breath and a brain to do so. That said, what can we do that lets us know we are making impact? In a speech this week given by Jeffrey Sachs, president of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, at their youth leadership event, he said the solutions are there. He further stated that it will take youth leaders to access and spread the solutions. Well, you know, I wondered how our young people would know about the numbers of global solutions that are out there, and then how to access them. I know Professor Sachs is right. You know, he's an economics professor after all, but we are still missing something. And I'll tell you what I think it is by telling you this quick story. Later today, I have the privilege of interviewing former US Congressman, UN Ambassador, and faith-based extreme conflict consultant, Mark Siljander. The ambassador published a best-selling book in 2008 called A Deadly Misunderstanding. The bottom line is that he successfully used the simple strategy of developing personal relationships and praying with leaders in the most war-torn places on the planet with the most dangerous humans to end political and religious conflict. Something his Capitol Hill colleagues had at the beginning told him was absolutely the wrong way to go about it. The ambassador has proven them wrong over and over again. The lessons here for working on big issues with other humans is all about building personal relationships. Our conflict is the battle we fight for all the things that are harming or keeping our youth from having a decent life. There are the issues that there are a lot of issues that tie into this battle, and some of those issues are other humans, like parents and politicians, etc. But just as Professor Sachs said, the solutions are there. So how do we gain access to them for our battle? Where are they? Who is leading them? And, you know, not just where are they curated on a list, but who knows about them enough and their leadership enough to see the opportunity. These elusive solutions are the nonprofits who build the schools and stock them with computers in Malawi and provide connectivity and mentors to schools in Uganda. They are the organizations who teach life skills to girls and provide scholarships throughout Africa. It's the girls mentoring program that Dr. Amaka and I are pitching, you know, right now to other organizations. It's the media platforms that stir up visibility, because visibility decreases the degree of separation and gives us access. I also include in this the owners of platforms for women entrepreneurs who sell goods, the wellness collaborators in Zambia, the Nigerian doctor trialing nutraceuticals to stop lupus in children, the NGOs who get sanitary and sexual disease prevention supplies to areas of Africa, and the leaders of youth development programs just like YOUTHGETHER Global. Just too many to name. And I know, because as the owner of one of those media platforms, I'm interviewing these resources all the time. Every single one of these organizations is making a difference, but how much more could they and we do if we knew about each other? And if we found a way to expand that critical access? The ones I listed above, I actually know because it's my job, but just me knowing them isn't going to be what's needed here. As Ambassador Siljander discovered, creating personal relationships with the leaders of other organizations of influence is key and should be part of any mission. With our own work and by helping other similar organizations to expand their reach, together we create uniquely substantial impact that can be carried forward beyond us. In conclusion, you know, these innocent little souls who we believe feel so impacted by COVID, or at least we think they are feeling that, well, maybe we are presuming just a bit how much it is on their minds. The poems we received for our project tell us that they worry about addictions, the planet's resources dying, food insecurity, mental health, peace and violence, in particular sexual violence. They worry about their mothers and what girls have to go through. They lament over inequities and share depression related to just growing up. And this is how one little girl put it, and I quote, "Long live education for girls, digs with a string. The school is a sanctuary as much as a chapel. The alphabet that the child spells out with his finger. Let's kindle the spirits. This is our first law. And from the basest tallow, let's make a light. Let us implore God. Let us praise him with our prayers, because without worry and assiduously, we conquer our misery. Those big, powerful words came from a poem written by a 12-year-old girl from the Democratic Republic of Congo, translated from her native tongue. Her future doesn't seem to be tied up in some big pandemic. Her future is not 5 or 10 years from now, it's tomorrow, the next day she goes to school, which was the theme and the title of her poem. Her concerns are about being treated unfairly as a girl and being sexually abused without any repercussions for those who wrong her. When she says the school is a sanctuary as much as a chapel, she wasn't meaning for herself, but for those who abuse her. The girl's real future was set on a path before she was born, but she does have hope. Did you hear it? We are but a speck of hope for her and for all the youth, but at least with our dedication, we are that. Impact work is crazy, messy, frustratingly time-consuming, all the above. You all have your own words because you know. But let's make the light and find these solutions that are out there that we know Jeffrey Sachs talked about and that we know ourselves are out there. Instigate personal relationships with these leaders and create some divine connection for the purpose of achieving access. And just maybe we can help these poets and all the youth out there find those better days. Thank you. Just a few short comments there.
Thank you so much, Mary.
God bless you all.
Just an amazing presentation. I have questions. I know everyone else has questions, but we're going to go ahead and watch this presentation from Susu College Cultural Group from Anambra State in Nigeria. So I'm going to direct you to the screen so that you can view it. Let's see if it's a screen. That's as loud as it can get. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Susu College from Anambra State. We're going to go on, and I'm really excited to invite His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Denis Antoine, who's the convener of the Ambassador Denis Antoine Challenge Prize for African Children. Your Excellency, you are welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, our distinguished moderator. I trust that you're still holding on there. Throughout this morning, I want to extend my appreciation to the distinguished panelists who preceded me, and to give my ongoing special commendation to Dr. Ada Okika for her leadership in this process. You know, today I'm going to speak briefly on commitment to action for the African child. And it would seem very easy for me to speak at this moment after having heard so many words. Today I am promoting.
Are you still on this meeting?
I'm promoting days, weeks, months, and years of the African child, because it would seem no day is enough. A day of the African child is what we've heard over the years. A day is not enough. And I want to caution that saying the right thing better and more appealing should not be measured as doing the right thing. I believe that raising the bar after each action is quite important. And on this day, a day such as this, we should measure the achievements, because there are so many dates. You recall that we've had the 2040 agenda, and we've had in 2016, when it was launched, 4 years of this ambitious 25-year agenda is gone. We're at the right juncture to look at the progress made in cultivating the institutional infrastructure of our societies to ensure the dignity of the African child. Now, the African child seems to be a beautiful, emotional subject, and one of us can make a very exciting presentation about our concerns for the African child. It is the right time, however, to assess the accomplishment of the past 4 years, just 4 years, and carefully label the challenges which still face us. Now, implementing the African Children's Charter calls for a collective undertaking with all on board Without any doubt, all African children of the world on the continent, and I dare say in the diaspora, must be brought on board. You know, our action must be for the children, of the children, by the children, in an intergenerational mode. That's why I really appreciate our professor, mathematical professor, who really brought us back to the roots of culture and how we had it. And we have the capacity there, but to instill it is important, and to lift us out of borrowing what is brought into the continent as opposed to using what we have in the continent. Now remember, Africa is rich, but the people are exploited, so they're poor. Now, I believe that why this Youth Gather global movement is so relevant as a major success lane to the road ahead. Let's take a closer look at that. Youth Gather represents a global children's partnership to achieve the SDGs, particularly SDG number 4. Now, the member states of the United Nations, as the international community, have pledged to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Now, remember, lifelong learning identifies that we speak of children today, but we who are the panelists for this session were children, and we're still learning and sharing, but we are children of this Africa. So this will require tremendous effort on the part of all stakeholders. Notably, our parents must be brought in to the schools process. Our teachers must be brought into the governance process. Our donors and international organizations must gather as we speak of a collaborative. We cannot just each of us do our little piece by ourselves and not have them connected. So we need to connect the process of engagement for youths so that it is not just speaking about youth from our silo, but a connected process that makes sure we are partnering, just as we see this concept of Youth Gather Global. So I want to applaud Dr. Okika and Youth Gather Global, efforts being made to keep the promise of Agenda 2040. I believe that my participation here is to continue to support, and I will collaborate with Dr. Okika to ensure that we recognize our commitment in providing an incentive to the students of Youth Gather Global. I want to conclude with this brief statement, and I see our moderator is up, so I am going to conclude and say to Dr. Okika and the panelists and the audience, this has been a very interesting day, and I do hope that the momentum from here takes us onward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Dr. Antoine. It's always a joy and a pleasure to have you with us. You are one of our greatest advisors and supporters of the work that we do here at YOUTHGETHER Global. And so we really appreciate your remarks with us and are so grateful for the work that you continue to do. Then next on our agenda is
Ambassador Diane for the wonderful moderation, and thanks to all our wonderful and excellent speakers. And thanks to our Princess of Africa. I've been so much, everybody forgot this face all the way from the United Nations back. Patrick and Youth Africa Foundation and music of Aid God for Africa. It's wonderful. Recalling that same song today in our midst. So it's wonderful having you again. And as our princess, the youth of Africa is always your passion, and I know that. And then again, I want to thank our wonderful speakers, especially the Honorable Commissioner who made it from African Union, who made it. She's speaking in Lesotho. Today is African Child, but she made it possible to even have a representation of her. So that shows the concern and the passion she has for what we are doing with African youth. And most importantly, our advisory chair and able guidance advisor, Ambassador Denis Antoine, I must continue to appreciate him because the entire initiative for YOUTHGETHER Global started with him and his ideas and advice. And he came in early before some of us, and he has been sitting patiently. So thank you, Ambassador, for your continued support. And the challenge prize for this Day of the African Child is a passion that you have relinquished to this wonderful initiative in honor of your global humanitarian services. We do honor you and appreciate you so much, sir. I want to appreciate Professor Nkechi Agulue for her continued practical and creativity and innovation on mathematics. You know, mathematics has always been a problem of people, you know, because it looks too abstract, it looks too uncommon, it looks too unreadable. But the fact that she has started this endeavor had brought issue of mathematics to practical terms, and people begin to understand the practical understanding of mathematics. Of course, we know mathematics is such as the simplest and most easy subject, but because of its structured teaching, makes it look as if it's a very complex subject. So she has been brought this in this dimension. She has been advocating for it. And I'm glad she's able to bring it today to the platform of Day of the African Child. So we believe that in our report, we have to extend on that in recommendation to African Union to work with that initiative in trying to practicalize teaching of mathematics with creativity and innovations. So we appreciate you so much for that wonderfully. Unfortunately, our youth, our children whose today is for them, are finding it difficult to speak today. And I know that SN Joy from Irene Menakaya School, Nigeria, the two young youth from South Africa, and they're all ready to speak. But I'm so sorry that we can't continue to try the network. I urge you to please send in your speech to us, and we will include them to us to our report. We are continuing on YOUTHGETHER Global. We are continuing on 4 E's of YOUTHGETHER Global. And this is important, that even when we heard from all the speakers, like the Honorable Senator, the Chief Ben Etiaba, and wonderful other speakers that showed up today, it shows that we have more work to do using the 4 E's of YOUTHGETHER Global. And I want to assure that the Governing Council team are more than strengthened to ensure that we get this to the youth of Africa. Most importantly, the youth to start on time to prepare their future. It's not just the door of the African child. It's not just looking at what they can be done, but looking at what they can do for themselves. We are happy that Senator Oji said he started at the age of 26
to hold important positions, and which that spirit is all in all of us. But we need to expand on that to get to where we are going. So I appreciate you all, and I thank you for this wonderful event. And I'll advise the chair to please end the meeting with the South African song, so that I can, because I have to close this Zoom to start the other meeting.
Awesome, amazing, amazing, amazing. So I'm going to hand over to His Excellency Prince Dr. Osita to close us out.
Yes, if Laila is not here.
She is here. She's been waiting. So would you like to do it, or should I invite her to do it?
Just let Laila say goodbye.
So I'd like to invite Her Excellency Ambassador Laila. If you're here with us, please join in as you close us out on this amazing session that we have had to commemorate the Day of the African Child. Thank you so much to each of our guests, but I will let Ambassador Laila come in and do that. Ambassador Laila, are you here?
Yes, we are here and waiting. It's amazing. To all our distinguished guests here, Excellencies, Highnesses, and Ambassador, and everyone far from Dubai, I say greeting from Dubai. It's amazing. YOUTHGETHER has been always the house which englobing all the nation, because we are global, international, and we are mixed culture. So it's not only targeting Africa, it's targeting all the globe. So for me, this amazing session, thank you, Ambassador Diana, Dr. Diana. It was a very professional moderation, and the way you lead the audience, it was fantastic. And that is not new, because all the team of YOUTHGETHER, it's asking professionalism and to be really at the diplomacy level high. So today, Dr. Ada and Prince Osita always guide us, and they are everywhere with the youth, with different countries, from South Africa to North Africa to East, and today they launch also with me Dubai. So soon we are going to launch YOUTHGETHER in Dubai, and we launched the platform called I Am Africa. Together is one venture, because our target and main target and always our dream is Africa. The childhood or the youth need a big change and challenge with digitalization. Like we see, a lot of them cannot open the net, and they cannot be able to be accessible to give them voice. So it's our duty and our mission and vision and goal to target all these places where there is no net, there is no help, there is no education in proper way. We have to work in the mindset of the youth and child. We want the glory for new future for Africa to be #1. YOUTHGETHER, today this platform with a lot of NGO, design protocol to lead this mission internationally. And I hope this SDG 2040 will be the lead for that with YOUTHGETHER. Thank you again.